This is a brief tutorial of the game Tikal as played on Board Game Arena. Tikal is a exploring, slightly area majority, action point system game from 1999. It's had a recent new version and is here on Board Game Arena. It's fairly straightforward, but there are a lot of combinations that you have to figure out with a given number of action points that you can do various actions with. So each turn, you will have a tile that you place somewhere on the board, and we'll talk about the rules around that. And then you have 10 action points that you can do any of these actions with. And all these dots tell you how many action points each action takes. For instance, this one takes 1, this one takes 2, up to 5. So after you place your tile, you use your 10 action points, and then it moves on to the next player. There are 3 volcano tiles hidden in this deck, roughly spaced evenly throughout the game. Each time one of those volcano tiles comes up, there is a scoring round where each player gets 10 action points to use and then scores all their points. Then the next person uses 10 action points, action points, and then scores theirs, and so on and so forth. And then whoever pulled that volcano places the volcano and then goes throughout the rest of their turn. So it kind of interrupts play for everybody to get 1 action point scoring turn. So all 3 of those volcano rounds will occur during the game, and then after all 36 tiles have been placed and this map is completely full, then the game will end and there'll be 1 more scoring round where everybody again gets their 10 action points and then scores their points, and then whoever has the most points wins the game. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the placement of tiles. So there are 3 different types of tiles that you will pull besides the volcanoes. There's the clearings, which just have nothing in them. There are temple tiles, which look like this, where they have a temple inside of them that starts with a specific number. These 2 are kind of pre-printed on the board. They are ones, but they could come out 2s or 3s, and later in the game even more, 4, 5, and 6 even. And then there are treasure tiles. This one that I've drawn here is a treasure tile, and it has a number of these little idol symbols on it. And when you place that down, that number of random idol or treasure tokens will be placed on that tile as well, which then can be taken off. Once all of those 4 or 3 or 2, however many it happens to be, are taken off, then it turns basically back into a clearing tile for purposes of functionality. The main way to get points in the game is, number 1, by getting those treasure tokens and doing some set collection with that. And then number 2 is being the majority in these temple spaces. So right now there's 2 temples, but there'll be more as it goes on. And those temples these ones start at level 1, but you can add levels to that all the way up to level 10 if the temple pieces are available. And then during the scoring rounds, whoever has the most, strictly the most explorers presence in those tiles will get that number of points. Ties do not give you the points. You have to have strictly more than anyone else. All right, so there are a few ways to accomplish these actions. Let's first place a terrain, show you how that works, and then we'll go through the various actions that you can take with your 10 action points each turn. So I have this tile here. You can see the highlighted tiles. BGA shows you where you can place it. It has to be next to a tile that exists already, and these are kind of the starting, again, pre-printed tiles on the board. And so I can place it in any one of these, but the key is when I place it, I have to make sure that it's accessible. And so let's talk about pathing. So between any 2 tiles, there's going to be a number of stones. It could be just 1 stone here. So this going from here to here crosses 1 stone. It could be 2 stones. Here it crosses 1 and 1, so that's 2 to get from there. This one, if we turn it to this way, it's 3 stones to get across. Could be up to 6 stones, 3 on each side. That'll be important later, but the important thing for placing the tile is that you have to at least be able to get to that tile from some other tile that exists already, meaning there has to be a path to it with at least one stone. So this is fine, but like if I put another tile here and I didn't have a stone on this side of it, then that tile would not be accessible, and I would have to turn it until there was at least one stone that connected to this one, because it's the only one it's touching. So you just have to make sure that at least one tile has a path to it with these stones in between it. Those are the only rules. It has to be touching something, and it has to be accessible through at least one other tile. So let's see. And then as you can see, when you place it down, you can just click on it again to turn it. Let's do it. Let's say, let's place it like this. All right. So when I've decided to place it, I press confirm. It put those 4 treasure tokens on top of it. And now I have 10 action points that I can use. All right. Here are the different things that you can do. First, you can bring new explorers out to either base camp, or if you have a camp somewhere else that you've built, you can bring it to either spot. And it costs 1 action point per worker. You have 11 regular explorers and 1 expedition leader. The only difference is when talking about majorities, the expedition leader counts for 3 instead of 1. That's the only difference between them. So if I wanted to bring explorers out, it would cost me 1. To do that, I would select the explorer, and then it says, hey, okay, here's a place you can bring them out. Base camp is the only place right now, but if I had a camp built out here, I could bring them there as well. And this one, it asks me, do you want to bring your expedition leader or your regular leader? Let's say I'm going to bring him, and I want to do it again. So I clicked it again, and I brought those 2 out. And so now those 2 guys are available. And now notice I have 8 points remaining because I brought 2 people out. And I'm done with this move for now, so I'm going to press confirm. If you try to do a different move before you press confirm, it will say, well, I'll show you. It'll say, hey, are you sure? If you don't confirm, it will undo that action and start a different one. So it's a bit of a hassle, but it helps make sure that you aren't making moves that you don't want to be doing. So I will hit confirm. Now it says I have 8 action points that I can use. All right, the second thing, well, the other thing that you can do is if you have built a tent, another camp, somewhere out in the rest of the map, which you do with this action here, you can teleport or move your explorers from one camp to the other for just 1 action point. It's like they found a secret tunnel between the camps. So that one is available as well. But if you've got explorers, typically you're just going to bring new explorers out because it costs the same, unless you want to move your expedition leader, for example. Next is movement. So movement is where these stones come into play. For every stone that a explorer or leader crosses, it costs 1 action point. So for instance, let's choose the movement action. I decide I want to move this guy over to here. So he's got a couple options. He could move here and then here, or he can move up here and then down to here. Well, every time he crosses a stone, that's 1 action point. So moving up from here to here is only 2 action points. Whereas if he moved here to here, that would be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the BGA will calculate that for you, but just understanding how that movement works is important. So if I move him here, it'll show me that's how that's the cheapest way to get there. It used up 2 points, and now that's good. And let's say then I want to move this guy up to here. It costs 2 points because there's 2 stones between these 2 hexes. All right, can confirm. And now I've moved my guys, and I have 4 left. All right, let's talk about something else you could do. Now, just because I've done that, I can always go back and do something else and use more action points too. Like if I wanted, and in fact, if you click on the guy, it will shortcut to that action. I could move him here. Obviously, I wouldn't want to do that because I just wasted some actions here, but that is something that, you can always go back to actions you've done already. The next action is uncovering a level of a temple is what they call it, but it's basically building up these temples from their starting number to the next number. So if I wanted to do this, and I had an explorer in a tile with a temple in it, and I do, then I could take it and I could add the next number onto it. Now this is the stock of temples. You can only add if that exists. So, some of the low numbers there aren't that many of, but you're going to be pulling out tiles that start at 3 or 4, so you won't necessarily need these. But note that only one temple can go all the way up to 10, 2 can go up to 9. But even if you were at 6 and there was an 8 available, but all the 7s were used, you wouldn't be able to add to that. You have to go in order, and if there's no temple stock there, then you cannot add to it. Also, you can only add 1 level per turn, per temple, per explorer. I'll go through that again. So basically, it costs me 2 action points to upgrade a temple. I could do this temple actually up to 2 times if I had 2 people there. So let's go and undo a bit. All right, we're gonna just go through here a bit. We're gonna click this to bring out another couple of guys. Let's say I decided to move both of them up here. Nope. Sorry. Here. This guy here. Okay. If I have 2 people there, I can upgrade this 2 times. That's the most you can do, and you have to have 2 explorers. But now I could upgrade this twice with my 2 explorers. Okay, that is upgrading that. Now the reason you want to upgrade this is because during those volcano phases, whoever has the most explorers in this tile, and the leader counts as 3 for those purposes, gets that number of points. So if a volcano was drawn right here, I obviously have the most here, I would get the 3 points. Nobody's in it, nobody gets the points, but if you're the only one in a spot and it's a good temple, then you can get those points pretty easily. All right. We're going to go back a bit. Again, bringing out our guys. We're going to move this guy over here. Well, and this time, because I didn't rotate it right, this was actually the cheapest way to do that. So the next is taking treasures, and that is this one right here. So to take a treasure, either click on the action here, or you can click on the treasure itself. You can have up to, it's the same idea as the excavating layers, up to 2 treasures from a single spot, but you have to have 2 explorers. So in this case, I could only take the 1. Now, if you do that, you can't undo from this point. So I'm not actually going to do this because this isn't, I don't want to take this turn quite yet. But it will reveal a token, and it'll be one of 8 different treasures. There are 24, so there's 20 here in the pile and 4 here, 3 of each type. Okay, when you reveal a treasure, you have one of those types, and during a scoring round, if you have 1 of that specific type, you get 1 point. If you have 2 of the same type, you get 3 points, and if you have 3 of the same type, you get 6 points. So that is how, how you can get those treasures and get those points. That's another way, besides having majorities of towers, to get points at the volcano scoring rounds. Now, if you have, let's say I have 2 of these necklaces, and then my opponent draws the 3rd one, I'm like, dang it! Now I can never get that third one. Well, actually, you can. You can use this to trade treasures with an opponent. The caveat is you can't split pairs or triplets. So you can only split the single types. So if I had 2 of these and 1 of these, and this person had 1 of those and 1 of those, 1 of those, whatever, then I could trade this one for theirs as well. But I couldn't, if they had two of these, I couldn't like trade one and get one of their two. You can't split those up. So you can trade ones for ones, but that's it. And that can help you make those sets, which give you better points during those scoring rounds. The other thing is that the opponent cannot refuse the trade. You just make the trade. As long as you're not breaking up again, either yours or their doubles or triples, then the trade happens. And that costs 3 as well. And I believe you can do that as many times as you can, but again, due to the nature of singles and doubles and stuff, it probably will just be once or twice in a round. Okay. By the way, there's this little tracking here. Besides the 5 points up here, it tracks your little dots as you use them up. All right, I'm going to move this guy. Wait, let's say cancel. I've got 5 points. I'm going to move him to here. Now, if I have a guy in a clearing area, and again, the treasures, once they're cleared out, this is a clearing tile. These are temple tiles. This is the home base, and this is a clearing, and this could be a clearing once the temples are done, and other clearing tiles will come. Then I can do this one where I build a base. So I would, I forgot to confirm. Oh, actually I can't do that because I wouldn't have enough. So we'll just talk about it. This costs 5. You place it on a clearing, and now you can bring explorers directly to that spot. So obviously I wouldn't want to put it here. I'd want to put it in some more better areas, or more areas of the map where it's easier to get explorers to and do, get to more temples that happen to be up here or up here or up here. So you will build a temple farther out at some point so that you have a shortcut to get explorers into those other temples. Now there's a change in this new version, and in fact BGA lets you switch to the old rule, but the new rule, which I think is probably better, is that you have to have an explorer on a tile in order to build a tent. In the original version of the game, as long as you had a clearing tile, you could stick it down and stick a tent right on it, and now all of a sudden you have guys you can start putting out there. It did let your guys spread out more quickly, but I think the old rule makes things a little more lucky. If you don't draw a good clearing tile, then it's hard to get those tents in the places that you want, especially in a larger player game. That is number 5, or this 5-point action to establish what they call a forward camp, or just another camp where you can bring guys out or transfer between guys. Finally, you can place a temple guard. So if you are in the area of a temple and you have currently the highest majority influence in that temple, remember these count for 1, these count for 3, then you can place one of your explorers on top of that temple, and now you own that temple and you get those points no matter what. Nobody else can take them from you for each scoring round. That said, you can never upgrade the temple once it's been claimed by a guard. So if I stuck it on top of here, it would just be worth 1 point each scoring round, never more than that. So you want to get something up to the 6, 7, 8, as high as you can, then claim it, and you can now just guarantee that 8 points every single scoring round. That's kind of the idea behind placing those guards. I don't know if I mentioned it, but like with the tents, you only get 2 for the whole round, and the guards, you can only do it twice in the whole round. And then the other thing is, when you place that guard, any of your other explorers or the leader that are on that tile are gone, just completely gone for the game, which isn't usually a big deal. But if you're using your leader to get the majority so you can claim that, then you will lose your leader and won't have that available for the rest of the game, which isn't the end of the world, but it just makes things a little harder to get majorities where you might want them. So you have to plan that carefully. The ideal is to be the only person in there, upgrade it real quick, and then claim it with your guard, so you don't even lose more than the 1. But If it's an important temple, you may be willing to sacrifice an explorer or two in order to get that, and then not have to worry about it for the rest of the game, just always having access to those points during the scoring rounds. That is placing a temple guard. Again, you can do it twice. It costs 5 action points. That's it. So once you use all those action points, you'll confirm your end of turn. It'll move to the next player. They will do the same, place a tile, and then use their 10 points in some variation of these moves. As you can see, you can always pick the move from here, and then it'll help guide you through. Or a lot of times you can just click whatever you want to do. Like here, if I just click this tile, it will take the treasure. Again, I'm not going to do that. Or if I click this guy, it'll show me a place, I can move him and that kind of thing. So it's pretty intuitive, pretty straightforward. And then the volcanoes come out. And again, reminder, when a volcano tile is drawn, the player who draws it gets 10 action points. They don't place anything yet. They just get 10 action points, and then they score their majorities and their points. Not everybody scores. So the key is when that comes and you have 10 points, you go and you try to get majorities or try to eke out a few points with treasures or upgrading temples or making sure that you have majorities. Get your points, and then the next person goes and they have 10 points to try to get back majorities or exchange treasures or do whatever it takes to get as many points as they can. And then it goes through all of the points, all of the players. And then the original person who drew the volcano places the volcano somewhere on the map, and it's basically a dead tile, nothing can go through it. And then they get their 10 points like a normal turn. So it's basically, as soon as that tile is drawn, the whole game stops. We do a scoring round, and then the turn continues by placing the tile and getting the 10 points. I'm going to skip to a different game where we're closer to the end. We're actually just at the end of the third volcano round, so you can kind of see what that looks like. Okay, this is a game almost to the end. We just placed the third. I drew the third volcano tile. I placed it after we had all done our scoring rounds, and now I have 10 action points to use. So you can see things have filled up. We've had several treasures over here that we've all filled. I've been able to get some sets of 3 by doing some trading, and then you can see majorities that are moving around. And temples that are claimed. For instance, I claimed this one at 8, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. Blue and me have been fighting over this one right now. They have 5 different, so basically they have 5, including their leader there. So they have 7 strength here, while I only have 4 strength. So they're beating me with that. I may just abandon that eventually. I've established my base over here. The idea, what I was trying to do is, build some temples over here that only I can really get to, and it's kind of blocked off with these volcanoes and some of these other harder paths to get by. White has made it over here, but it's going to be hard for them to bring anything else over. So as long as I push in enough other temples, at least that's my strategy here. So again, you can see where it's going to fill in. There's only 7 more tiles that are going to all fill in here. Sometimes when you place a tile, like if I get it at this point in the game, clearings aren't worth very much. Towards the beginning, clearings are nice because you want to set that forward base somewhere. So drawing a tile lets you kind of dictate where that exists. But towards the end, the clearings aren't really valuable, so you may place them close to other players. I think I placed this one here because now red can't put a temple there and basically own it because nobody else can get to it. So you're trying to use the map to strategically block out areas and give yourself access to areas. That's a bit of the strategy as well. But again, it's all just using those 10 points, building up temples, getting sets of treasures. And after those 7 have completed, we all get 1 more scoring round, and then that's the end of the game. That is Tikal on Board Game Arena. Hope this was helpful.